the Powerful Podcast. With me, your host, Victoria Hoban, Equestrian, or otherwise known as Vicki Hoban, Equestrian. This week on the Powerful Podcast, we have Emma Golding, a carriage driver and passionate mindset coach. We will be discussing Emma's day-to-day as a powerful person, their experiences and challenges and how they overcome them, and also answering your questions as the broadcast is live. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Hope you enjoy. Here's Emma. Accept. Oh, there you are.
Hiya.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm okay. The spoon level is good today.
Good.
You can only see half my face. Here we go. That's better. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a little bit snuffly because I've got allergies. I was putting Mossy's rug on and he was eating from his hay net, so he was dropping hay on my head. So that's always...
I've had a bit of a runny nose because of the temperature change, because it's Baltic. It's really cold.
That could be it either. But yeah.
So, welcome everybody that's coming in. I'm Vicki Hoban. I'm a para dressage rider. I started the Powerful Podcast to tell people's everyday lives behind the competing and the glory and what everybody thinks is shiny, to just highlight what it is day to day to be a para athlete, right? Shared it to Emma, and Emma said that she would come on, and I'm very pleased to have her. Emma, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Emma Golding. I am a carriage driver, para carriage driver. I represent Ireland. I'm also a mindset coach and also doing a part-time PhD looking at owner behavior and perceptions and things like that when it comes to equine metabolic syndrome. So, yeah.
I wish maybe I should have Googled a bit more, but I was a bit obsessed with the mindset stuff because that's my jam. I mean, I should have briefly listened to when you were competing and they do this is what Emma does, you know?
Yeah. But no, I do the mindset coaching as well. So
as a para athlete, right, and a individual, what does your day-to-day kind of look like then?
I mean, most of my day-to-day, because I work full-time in the veterinary school in UCD here in Dublin, so most of my time is spent working Monday to Friday. I like my job, and it pays for the ponies. But that is
priority.
Yeah, exactly. So pony wise, I tend to, my driving is generally restricted to the weekends. That's time wise, that's energy wise, that's also kind of, because it takes a lot of time. I need a lot of help. I always have to have somebody help me when I'm driving. So trying to do that, during the week, just, I tried that for quite a while and it didn't really work. So during the week, I lunge Mossy, and he's ridden. So he gets a very good balance of what he does. The only reason to drive more is for me thinking, God, knowing that I need to do, we need to do this, we need to do that. But in terms of his fitness and actual training, ridden is just as beneficial for him.
Mossy. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a big
I know you do.
Mossy. I'm obsessed with Mossy because when we had the conversation, you were like, "I have a one-eyed pony too," and I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
So I'm like, "That's it. I'm sold now." You've got Mossy, and I changed his name recently to Murphy's Law.
Okay.
Because it's life according to Murphy.
Okay.
And it's kind of Murphy's Law that he lost his eyes. So, it was fitting for him
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
won his little rosette the other week and then ate my loops straight after. So.
Typical.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I was like, yeah. I don't think I've ever told you the story of when he got cut 20 minutes after he jumped the stable door from standing.
Okay.
Yeah, I talked to Shelley, his vet, who's Irish, and we were having a good old chit chat in my friend Mairead's yard. And we were going for ages. She's like, I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like him. Like, he's one in a million. Like, and I'm thinking, oh God, what the hell did I get myself into with my 200-pound pony?
Oh, God.
Christmas gift though this year is he's getting learned. He's getting broken into Carriage for me.
Amazing. Fantastic.
Because I know you're like you want people to join.
I do.
And
I do.
I have
yep.
2 leggies that don't work so great and need to be broken next year. And I am not taking a break. That's not happening.
Yep.
So your Christmas gift is you get another carriage driver.
Brilliant. Fantastic.
So when you mentioned earlier on, right? And this is a common theme of I have to work full time to also be able to compete at said level.
Yeah.
Like, what are your opinions on that? Because I've had many opinions. And the Power of podcast is about collating these stories or experiences so that hopefully one day, if someone might hear them and listen to them and take them on.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, and this comes from the mindset side of things. I think it's good for people to be well-rounded.
Okay.
It's yes, the ideal from a competitive, point of view would be to be able to devote, all, as much time as required. It's unfortunately not a reality. And honestly, I don't see it being a reality for a lot of, not just for para, for para equestrians, but for a lot of equestrians in general. It's such an expensive sport. There's
getting more expensive right now.
Yeah. So I think it's something that we kind of have to work around. I mean, yes, if there was some kind of compromise in there in terms of, funding and things like that. But I think working around it and taking the benefits, from...
I think what you're saying is, I don't know if you watched or heard the episode of Vicki Howarth. She was Team GB, and her opinion is as well that if you're not in the community, right, or working in that space, and you're all fully devoted, are you being fully fulfilled by the one thing that you're
Exactly. And it puts a lot of pressure on that one thing. And yes, if there are people, there are obviously people out there whose job it is as well. It's their job to compete. It's their job to train horses. It's their job to, to do all the stuff that comes with that. But that comes with other downsides that, that those of us who are working a different job in order to pay for our horses don't have. So it's not a kind of rosy, I think, rosy.
You ever have a horse? It's never rosy.
Exactly. Exactly.
Covered head to toe.
Yeah.
As individuals and para athletes, right? We often come into physical and mental obstacles, and that's your jam. So what are some of the key challenges
that you've faced in the aspect of your journey and your triumphs that you're most proud of?
Um, I mean, there's a lot of individual points that that I'm proud of in terms of where I've competed and what where we've come and how we've performed and stuff like that. In terms of the mental side of it, I think, and it's what led me to doing the mindset coaching. I think kind of overcoming the fears, the low confidence, all of that I suffered with that for years while I was driving. I think kind of overcoming that is the thing that's given the most to me mentally. That's
so. Let's talk about more of the mindset stuff, because you do that as a job.
Yep.
That's how you pay for ponies.
Not yet. Hopefully, I'll grow it so that
I'm in crossed for you. But when I discovered it, I was like, oh, you do this too? Oh, you're great. Like, I like your brain. My brain likes your brain.
Yeah.
So,
I do.
How long have you been doing the mindset stuff then?
Only, I mean, literally just the past year that I've actually been, kind of doing it as a paid thing with clients. I was then, I was a couple of years, doing the training for it. Before that, I was working on my own mindset, and seeing different performance coaches, sports psychologists, and all of that, and working on my own. So overall, it's been a good few years.
I think it's such a valuable skill in the placement that you're at. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, not only
for
yourself,
that everything I
knowledge and imparting that upon others. That's a huge deal, Emma. Like, that's a pat in the back moment. Do you know what I mean?
Thanks. I mean, it's what I want, and it's why I did the course, because because of the impact that in the change in me and the impact that had on me, I wanted to be able to do that for other people because of the benefits that I'd got from it, like massive benefits from it, both kind of personally and performance wise.
I think it's a good point in time to like tell the people that don't know how you got into parasports.
So I rode as a teenager, and I just left school. I was 18. I just left school. I was doing a equine science course, and I had a fall and broke my back and was paralyzed from that fall. So after that, I tried riding again. I went to the RDA, but because my brake is so high, I've got no core control, so I couldn't balance. So I knew that people drove horses as a thing, but I didn't actually know about the sport of horse driving trials.
Same I'm not going to lie. Like, until there was loads of drivers at the year that I was starting to break Murphy in, and I was like, what is this?
Okay.
Right, and it was around the time I started following you, and I was like, oh, okay, this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. You go at a very fast speed.
Yes.
I like speed. You like speed. Yeah.
Yes. So one of the ladies who was volunteering at the RDA, she actually groomed for a friend of hers. A friend of hers did the driving trials here, and she said that she asked would I like to try it, and she arranged for me to try, and that was that. So
How did you meet Mossy?
So Mossy came from Hungary originally.
Okay.
And myself and his co-owner, who I used to keep my ponies with, she got a heads up about him going at a price that we could afford, because he's a purebred Lipizzaner. They don't normally go at at prices that we could afford. She got a heads up, and she literally booked a flight to Hungary that day and flew out the next day to go try him, so that we could, yeah, it was that. So I didn't meet him till he arrived in Ireland. Yeah. Yeah.
He's a real character, though. He's brilliant.
He is. He really is. Although when he came, his personality wasn't as, he was much more reserved when he arrived. I think he came from a very big yard. He would have only just been gelded. You know, he obviously then traveled all the way across Europe.
It's a lot
so I think
process for
it's a lot, yeah. And he as well, so we tried to manage the eye, and when it was flaring up, you know, he'd have to have creams and, you know, all medication put in it. He'd have to stay in the dark and all of that. So that was interfering with his normal life. But also, I kind of realized once the eye was taken out, his whole demeanor and his whole body just relaxed. So even when it wasn't visibly flaring up to us, it must have been at least irritating, if not painful, the whole time. So, I mean, you know,
both of us could understand.
So,
chronic pain.
Yeah, I mean, there is there's the environmental barriers and the kind of physical stuff and things like that, which, you know, and I've got. So it was the
last week.
best decision could have made for him.
They couldn't get
like
him
his
to an accessible
literally
that was wheelchair accessible,
Right.
and then sledge accessible, and it actually
exactly
increased their trauma, stress, you will, because you can only go to a certain rink, and you're then reducing your training time, and it has an onset effect. And people don't necessarily think that these things have an onset effect for us and even our performance.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I have accepted this. And we talked about this earlier, I drive less than the people that I'm competing against. Especially, so by that I mean the people that I compete against here who are able-bodied. You know, I know that I can drive less than they can drive. So that's something I've just had to accept. I've had to accept that mine and Mossy's journey to hopefully where we're going to end up is just going to take a bit longer. And that's not necessarily a bad thing either. I think especially with his personality, because he is, you know, his confidence was very low. So I think the fact that we've taken it slow is actually a benefit to him. So that, you know, that's not a bad thing. That's something like this.
He's adjusting to his disability.
Exactly.
You know, and having to learn a new way of life.
Yeah. So I think as well, there's always that little bit difficult to be, you know, to be the odd one out. You know, whether that's as a disabled equestrian, whether that's, you know, somebody who's, you know, Black equestrians, I've heard them talk about, you know, similar ways. You know, it's, you stand out. You know, and even if nobody else is thinking, does this person belong? You're wondering, are they thinking that? You know, that's something that happens to me a lot less now. I'm a lot more kind of confident and comfortable, you know, in owning my space.
I've been all over the show now. Like, I've lived in Canada, I've lived in here, and I have seen a lot of the "you don't fit here," and I've been told lots of "you don't fit here" things.
Okay.
And, you know, it can be difficult And sometimes that stinking thinking comes into the riding too. And you're looking around and you're like, oh, everybody's 10 to the dozen better than I am. In that second, I think you believe, well, at least I believe you need to catch that thought.
You do.
Away, right?
Yeah, you do.
I usually then will ground myself in the saddle or whatever it is and remove myself and reorientate that I'm doing a job now and I don't have time for that.
Yes, yeah.
You know,
one other thing as well, and this is something I was very reluctant to move. So in driving, and if people are watching, especially the indoor driving at the moment, they'll see the drivers wearing a lap belt, the four-in-hand drivers who are obviously able-bodied. And that's purely as a kind of, safety net, because the force of four horses,
let's be honest, how I got into dressage was I got launched too.
Right.
Show job.
Yeah.
I got launched too, and it hurt my backside so badly.
Right.
My fracture was between the lower spine, the pelvis, and the coccyx.
Okay.
So that sucked.
Yeah.
And sitting down still sucks. Even though I've got legs that don't work.
That's not good.
No. Sorry, I knocked you off with a tangent.
Okay, no, so at first that was the only, kind of harness for me that I was willing to use. And it took me a while then to build up to having shoulder straps that go over, and kind of the belt goes through, because I didn't want to look any different to anybody else, which is a ridiculous thing, because everybody knows that it's not that.
Honest with you, personally, I thought it was one of those fancy air vests. It gets away with the kind of shape.
Yeah.
So I don't think you stick out. And if you ever seen it,
are you talking about the bright blue one?
Yeah, I love it.
So that's what I've gone to now. That is actually
so smart, and I know you made the blanket as well.
Yes, yeah.
And I was like, oh, you have to go and check Emma out when she's competing. She's usually up on the old FEI site, Just brush her shoulders there.
Yeah, I have. If you look at some of the recent cross country pictures, I've actually got a bright blue with really thick straps, a bright blue harness. That is actually a rally car harness.
It looks
with a quick release.
Comfortable, it
is, and it keeps me so secure, and it frees up my groom because it's quick release on my end, which is the rules, as in it has to be quick release in some way or another. So for the dressage and cones, because my groom is sitting there, they hold my belt. So I'm sticking with the other belt because that's fine. And also the 5-point harness isn't suitable because I can't use the bottom strap with the apron, and I tried it and it just rides up, so it doesn't do its job. So, but on the cross country, because I don't have the apron, I can use the bottom strap, and it just keeps me so secure. But for years, I had put off getting, so it's taken me, I've gone gradually from one thing to the other. But what made me do it, was wanting to up my performance. And up our performance as a team, because now that me and Mossy were going faster, my grooms were saying, look, it's difficult to get over to one side because we're holding your belt on one side. So so they weren't able to be as effective.
I translate that as allowing yourself to have the acceptance of having an extra aid.
Yep. Yeah.
Actually increased your performance.
100%.
If we play into the mindset of things, and we do in daily life, giving yourself that aid, or allowing yourself, being kind to yourself, because that's important.
That's it. Yeah,
improves things overall.
It does. Yeah. Sometimes our brains get in the way, though.
I mean, definitely overthink it. I overthank for a good half an hour while I stood at, one of those foldy up walking sticks.
Oh, yes.
I bought it in the end.
Good.
I bought it in the end now, and I use it, and it's very helpful.
Yes. Because it does the job.
You might not know that I don't have good glue in my body.
Yes.
And if they sent me to the glue factory, I'd be no use to them. Mobility said, body conscious is a good point, and it's a topic we definitely need to talk about.
Yeah.
It is a good point. And I do them a little shout out because they do a little sponsor for me. Is Cavalier Couture, who are mental health positive and body positive. So I will be doing the Everybody is a Equestrian campaign soon with a couple of other people.
Brilliant.
Yeah, we'll be splashing that all over the place.
Brilliant.
Because it is important to not judge, because yes, there are curvier ladies, but there are also very built men also riding horses.
Yes. Yeah.
And there needs to be some equity, I believe, in that situation. So it's a very good point.
Yeah.
Leg of ability. Very good point indeed.
Yeah. 100%.
What is your thoughts on the whole body consciousness then?
I mean, it's a difficult thing in the equestrian world because of the clothes that are traditional. They don't leave, they don't leave
much room for people not having opinions.
Yeah, well, and things are tight and all the rest of it. But I do think that the more people who are comfortable in themselves can go out there and show that they're comfortable.
I talk to a lot of equestrians that are fuller size. It's actually not for the want of like keeping their horse in mind and the weight gain, the weight ratio and everything. Yes. I know all of these people weigh themselves often, right? I know that they keep a track of their horse's weight. Yep. I know that they're conscious that they always use lighter tack. Right?
Okay.
They don't add stuff to that, and all of them have heavier breeds that used to be classed as a work breed. So,
okay. Yeah.
The less of the beating down and the more of the education of how you can access a sport is better.
Yeah.
Right? It's the betterment of everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, horses come in variety of, types and heights and strengths and all of that.
I'm 2 Cobs, an Arab, and 2 Welshies down now.
Yeah.
There is a vast, like, people think, you just get on a horse or whatever, and it's all going to be, no. There's such a vary between breeds, and then you're talking temperament, and you're talking the actual familial breeding.
Yeah.
Like, it is a mind of, like, a lot.
Yeah.
You can't just go out, buy a horse, which sadly is happening a lot lately, and expect you're going to ride it the next day. So we're nearly wrapped up, and if anybody's got questions, it'll be great. Looking forward, right? Your personal kind of goals and aspirations. What are you looking to aim for?
So, in driving or life,
in your day-to-day life, because that's what Powerful is about. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
Doing all of it. I never gave you an explanation. Well, to me, anyway, Powerful is we are
everything. Yeah.
Right? We're doing all of the normal life stuff, and then we're going out on the side, and we're challenging ideals of disability through sport.
Yeah.
And that's powerful in a way.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's a play.
Yeah. Well, so I've got just over a year left is the plan on my PhD. My ideal, if I could have my ideal, life after I finish the PhD, would be to continue with my research. Love the research that I'm doing. Maybe add in a bit of teaching. I'm going to be doing my first guest lecture next semester for the fourth year vet students, and I'd like to do that. That doesn't need to be, ideally, that doesn't need to be, full time. If I could then do the mindset coaching, if I could build that up, so that's that. And in terms of the driving, short term, my plan is hopefully to do, I will be doing it because there aren't any para international competitions in France next year. It takes too long for me. So for the World Championships, I'm able to take, I get special leave with pay for the work days of the competition, and because I'm representing Ireland at World Championship level, and I work for the public service. Anyone who represents at Olympic, Paralympic, World Championships or European Championship level, they make it so you don't have to use your annual leave for it.
That's bloody brilliant.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. Now, I mean, I took longer. I've
been waiting for some good news for a while. I'm hearing all money problems here, there, and everywhere, and I'm like, that's bloody
it's brilliant. It's brilliant because otherwise it would have used. I was away for what would have been 14 days of annual leave, but I only had to take 7 because of that. So that left me enough to then be able to actually take a break at times and things like that.
That's quite nice. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you only have a certain amount of spoons for the day, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
You are then juggling a multitude of them consistently because you're running 2 lives.
Yes.
Essentially, right?
Yeah. I sometimes feel like I'm running 4.
3 because you've got the mindset.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and you just like your normal. I have to do and live. Yeah.
Normal.
4.
Yeah.
That requires an amazing amount of spoons. And for those who don't know what spoon theory is, it's an energy exchange that disabled people use to describe what we need to get done in a day and maybe what we don't have enough of.
Yeah, that's it.
That's extraordinary, Emma. That's quite extraordinary. I mean, you take time to listen to the verbal processing, That's
next year, as I was saying, because it's not a world championship, I wouldn't have the time to travel all the way up to the Netherlands. Yeah. It just takes too long. So my plan is to compete in France. That means,
for those who don't know, you actually drive your lorry, don't you?
I do. Yeah. So it does mean like I found somewhere. So although we get the night on the boat, I still need the next night. So we stop in Normandy overnight the next night as well, and that's obviously
for your disability, like sitting for a long period of time, not being able to have the feedback, essentially, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know for anybody who knows that can be quite risky because you're then open to pressure sores.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that evil sepsis comes wide open.
Yeah.
If it's not managed correctly.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that people don't realize about, and I think I've been
talking to Sue Murphy recently. We're having a little old chat because life, And she said, well, Vicky, if they don't see it or they don't hear about it, they don't think it exists.
It's not, you know, it's not a criticism of anyone,
No,
because
it's not.
you know, people, everybody, I'd say that everybody could say that, but you know, and I mean, you know, just speaking, you know, from the spinal cord injury side of things, it takes a lot of my time is made up of basically making sure I don't die. But my body just keeps functioning because it can't do it on its own. So I'm constantly managing. So when you're doing that and driving a horse lorry all the way up to the Netherlands, it adds in a lot of it.
So every time I swing my leg over a horse, I'm thinking, don't dislocate, don't dislocate, don't dislocate. Like, because it's awkward having to pop my hip back in for a second. Swing
I'd say
too far, it'll just go boink. Oh,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I dislocated the other, could have been a couple of weeks ago now, because I got off and I stood on the wrong leg, and then I just twisted and went, oh, bye. Yeah. So yeah, we have to be mindful to not hurt ourselves, and it can be easy.
That's it. And as well, you know, I mean, I'm, again, what kind of pushes me to actually do the right thing is my competitive performance, because it is no good me traveling all that way, paying all that money, putting in all that time, if I'm then exhausted and I can't compete properly.
Yeah.
You know,
I think it's the horses that keep you going. Like,
that's it. Yeah.
It's the next thing. There's no stopping with them. It's on to the next thing each time, you know? And
so it's about managing yourself as well.
Again, because breakable. You and I are breakable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? I think if we don't laugh about a situation, we learn from it and then not repeat it. Oh, hold on. Legability said, what do both of you think of these TikTok videos where you're having models riding along the beach with no safety gear on? First of all, it's social media. Second of all, I'd question how well that person knows their horse, because I've done it. I've got on the back of Tina and she threw everybody else off other than me. It was grand. I'm still alive. We all have those moments. And growing up in Ireland, that was very normal to just get on the back with nothing on. Maybe a rope sometimes. But that's my opinion on it. I wouldn't look at the surface level. I'd start looking a little bit deeper. I don't know about Emma. I'm sure Emma's got her own opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, adults, rightly or wrongly, can make their own decisions. But I do think that if it's with social media, there is then that added responsibility that they're going to be influencing other people, you know, and quite possibly, you know, under 18s who aren't adults, who maybe can't, you know, weigh up the risks for themselves. So yeah, I mean, I personally,
those kids are heavily supervised first and foremost, because you shouldn't just leave it.
Oh yes. Oh God, no, of course not. You know, but I mean, older teenagers, they ride with it. Their parents are, you know, things like that.
I mean, like, I don't condone it. It was one of those moments where you just get on, and if you've grown up that way, and it goes down to the ride of the horse and all that stuff for the time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get on any horse now unless it was mine. I owned it in that case without the full gear on.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I personally, I don't drive without a helmet. So I used to do my dressage when I was driving previous pony, Popeye. He was a cob. He was like, now, even if I was to have another Popeye now, yeah, I wouldn't I wouldn't drive without a helmet at any point. There is still a lot of, so the FEI have just made it mandatory in the past season or two for all drivers and grooms to wear a hard hat in the cones. It didn't used to be. So I would expect that at some point, because, you know, with the, you see most ridden dressage riders now wear helmets as well. That's changed.
I would like to be honest with you. Being people who do think it's safe, but you're giving the horse a lot of aids at one time. Some of them are really spicy.
Yeah.
Right.
But even without that, you know, horses trip. You know, something.
And you can even get unbalanced, as I have recently learned, and been very thankful for my nice UVEX.
Yeah. So I mean, I personally, I got a beautiful shout out to Choice Equestrian Suomi helmets, because I have got the most beautiful helmet now for the dressage.
It is quite nice.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Like
blue and rose gold. Yeah.
every now and then,
that's it. So you know, it doesn't have to be boring. No. If you're wearing a helmet. So yeah, so
many choices. Yeah. Like I do love UVEXs. I like bike helmets, and I have POTS, and I can't regulate my temperature, and I don't like a sweaty head.
Fair enough.
It doesn't appeal to me, you know.
Yeah.
I love, like, their most recent one that they've come out with is the one for the road. Everything on it flashes.
Oh, right.
Everything.
Right, okay.
Big old
flashy
light here. You got lights all around the front and everything. And I think that's fab. Like, brilliant.
Yeah.
10 out of 10. There needs to be more of that, because we've all been out on the roads.
Yeah.
It's not great.
Yeah.
Have you got any? I would say UVEX. The clan down here might want something a bit more flashy.
I have to say, and I'm not just saying this because they're sold by friends of mine, but the Suomi helmets are so comfortable. They are just that's the one that I use for my dressage and cones.
They hand make your helmet then?
No, not quite. No, not quite. Although they look that nice. But they are really comfortable as well. Yeah.
It's good to have stuff that you are comfortable in, and I say, like, it's different from rider to rider.
Yeah.
About what works for you.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I don't know. You prefer different things. You have different comfort levels, and if you find the right combination, you're not bothered whilst you're doing your sport.
Exactly. That's the thing. That's it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I don't know, a pinchy chin strap.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then suddenly you're distracted, and you've got the whole movement.
Yeah.
And you're blaming yourself when really pinchy chin strap. And yes, everything's expensive these days.
Yes.
But if you're buy well.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Totally agree.
People don't realise how long that gear actually lasts. I still have gear from when I started riding.
Yeah.
I do. I still have it. I kept it. It was one. I did keep the helmet that I went flying with, because that one saved my life.
Right.
And also as a memory not to do that again.
Fair enough. Yep.
I got, when Matilda, when you see her get launched. Kind of thing where I was sat, and then the bottom of me hit first, and I literally skid about another 10 feet after going 30 feet, so 40 feet in total, right across the arena. I'm sure it was a sight to behold. I wish somebody put it on video for me.
Yeah.
So there's no more questions, and I don't want to be keeping you all night, because we all have spoons to reserve. I'm just so thankful to actually finally get to talk to you.
Yeah, it's
you're a lovely person.
Lovely.
You know, and getting more insight into who you are as a person, because you see, everybody doing all our interviews and everything at competition, but they forget what's behind it, right? And the driving force behind it. And it's been nice to get to know you and like what your passions are, the horses, and then working in the veterinary school. Like, that's fantastic, you know, and how your research and the relationship between us and our horse is even better. And applying all of this knowledge and experience that you have into mindset coaching, and for you to be a para athlete to do that at the same time, you know, that's just a huge and powerful thing for you to do. Do you like it?
I do. I do.
So thank you so much for
Thank you for asking me.
And like, I've had a lot of fun. I have a lot to chew on, because each time I do a podcast, I take something from it and I go, well, these are some of the experiences.
Yeah.
What are yours compared to it, you know?
Yeah.
And then you kind of have a bit of outlook over the season. So I'm going to stop talking now, because the ADHD will keep going.
Well, best of luck with breaking Murphy too.
Okay, when I'm driving, my plan is to stick him in the back of a trailer and drive him over to you.
Okay.
And then we can have a nice go. Yeah, you can teach me.
Yeah.
Like,
sounds
I'm
good.
sure he'll bloody love it, and you will have to toddler-proof everything. It gives me anxiety. Okay, I'm gonna go bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. Moving forward, we're going down under and we're going to discover what it's like to be an Australian para dressage 2-time